Mom, she'll just literally make me beast again.
Mom told you about this side.
And what she say?
It could get ugly.
Yeah.
Boy from the
East side, east side, east side, east side. Yeah.
Mom told you about this side.
And what she say?
It could get ugly.
Yeah.
I'm just a boy from the
East side, east side, east side, east side. 1980819 Pontiac General. Day of the birth of a small city general. To keep it brief, till I was 6 or 7, moved around. Never left District 7 on Wall Street, that stopped. Now that's a block. Stayed at the bottom, but it was pumped at the top. I stopped playing kill 'em with the Stewarts and Tates. Started rolling with them niggas that was moving away. Thought I'd take the long way, walking the Millers. Say what's up to the... What's going on? What's going on? What is going on, y'all? Welcome to Vader Vision. I am Binks Vader, your host. Lightsaber to the face of all of the haters. You know, that's a little Star Wars humor. If you don't know, I'm a big Star Wars fan. First off, Binks Vader, Auburn Luther King is available on all streaming platforms, man. Make sure you tap in on that. Run them numbers up for me. Also, you can follow Vader Vision on all social media platforms, man. Make sure you tap in on Instagram, tap in on X, which is formerly Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And if you're feeling like I'm doing a good job, $ Binks Vader on Cash App. Get some more equipment. All that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Help me out. Also, I'm going to have some merch later on with the Binks Vader, with the Vader Vision logo. So, just tap in, man. Help me out. Today, now that we got that out the way, today will be the final episode, of the first half of what I'm doing with Who's for Pontiac. If you don't know Who's for Pontiac, it's basically I bought my platform to open it up to all of the mayoral candidates running for mayor. August 5th is the primaries. Make sure y'all get out and vote. If you're not registered to vote, make sure you go handle that, man. Get registered to vote. It's important, especially this election. You know what I mean? A lot of people say our votes don't count. I really think that, in our local elections, we really do count. We just have to pop out and show that we matter. And that's what this platform for, man. This is a platform dedicated to the Pontiac election coming up. I'm inviting all the candidates up here to a non-biased platform where they can speak their piece. And, also we can, get to know these candidates that are running to lead the great city of Pontiac, Michigan. So today's guest on Vader Vision presents Who's for Pontiac. I have Mayoral Candidate Deirdre Waterman. Y'all give it up for Deirdre Waterman. Hello. Hello there. How you doing?
Great to be with you. Thank you for doing this public service. And great to know you better and know of your interest in engaging the voting population in Pontiac, to know how important it is, particularly this election coming up, because Pontiac is a crossroads. And what happens to the benefit of the citizens could largely determine who they select to be their leader for the next 4 years or so.
Well, thank you for coming aboard. I said this is the 5th installment. I'm glad that you reached out to me and were interested in being on the platform and speaking to the people. Take this time right here to let people get to know who you are, why you're running for mayor. Go ahead, run down your introduction, who you are, what you've done, and what you represent, and what you plan on doing with the city of Pontiac.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. And before I even get to that introduction, may I take the opportunity or the liberty of addressing something that's really important, and that is what happened last night,
Yes,
which is of immense importance to this city. And that relates to the violent episode, which the sheriff had to block off South Boulevard. And there was another shooting of young people in our community which threatened the safety and the sense of peace of all the neighbors, where the streets were blocked off and they didn't know what was happening. And this is just tragic. It's just tragic for our community. And nothing else is as important if people can't feel that they have the safety of their homes and the protection of their lives. And seeing this kind of tragic violence that's going on, so much between some of our young people, our misguided young people, with the loss of life and the terrorist activity that's going on. And so I just feel that we want to start out with that, because it's very much on my mind, and it's very much on the mind of all the citizens of Pontiac.
The city, yes, the city is worried about it also.
And it should be a priority. Should be a priority. We're just saying too much of that. And the question is, what can we do as a community to band together? It's not all the sheriff, it's not all the school's problem. It's all of our problems. It affects all of us. And Pontiac, as much as the opportunity we have and as much as we've grown, and I feel I'm very happy to be a part of that progress of the city, but there's things that people want when they live in a community, and that's to feel safe, have their families feel safe, have their homes feel safe. And nobody feels safe. Nobody feels comfortable in a community in which this kind of activity just repeats itself too often. And also, you just feel that it's so tragic that young lives like this, young lives that could have been guided as up their opportunity, instead, they are getting into these violent episodes, which are senseless, and it just destroys the lives not only of the young people who are involved in it, the people, and there were deaths from this. What happened yesterday of young people, not only of them, but the young people who actually committed this violence, because their lives, if they're convicted of these crimes, is then uprooted forever, and that's also a loss. And it's also a loss to their families.
Whole families are
everybody. And anytime it affects members of our community, it affects the whole community. So that's not something we can proudly stand up. And it's going to affect everything else that happens in this community, if that's the kind of repeated episodes that have been so rampant in Pontiac. And I just feel very sad, and we want to send sympathy to all the young people who were either affected by it, or the families were affected by it, or who witnessed it, or who somehow maybe caught up in some of the aftermath of it. All of them, all of us. I just want to stop and take a moment for. So we can talk about a lot of the other issues they're affecting, and things that the mayors is responsible for. But I just want to start out with that, because that is of prior importance to me, and I think to a lot of other people. And I think one of the questions that we want to get into is what, as mayor, would I do for public safety, and to make better public relations with the police department or the sheriff's department and the city, and to kind of see what we can do to catch these the attitudes that are going on with some of our young people before more of this happens.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I just wanted to give my condolences and my sympathy to the community as a whole, not just families who are involved in this, but the community as all, because we all suffer, and we all are embedded with that kind of problem that can affect us. It was on South Boulevard yesterday, but it can be anywhere in the city.
It can happen anywhere. Yeah.
Anywhere in the city.
Prayers go out to everybody involved, and like you said, prayers out to the whole community, man. We got to do better. We have to do better. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Outside of the politics and things, it all starts with us as citizens.
Exactly.
Care. It's on us to care enough to start, trying to help change some of these things. So
exactly.
Most definitely agree.
So and so that's a good place to start. I'm glad you feel exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And you know how much that affects our city. And if we're going to kind of start with those kinds of sentiments, I might express the fact that one of your questions to me was, what was my hope to be able to improve public safety? So let's just start with that. And I'll get back to the introduction if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, yeah. No,
Since we started with that topic.
since we're speaking about it anyway, yeah, might as well. With public safety. As far as public safety goes, I just wanted to know how will you address public safety concerns and improve the relations between the police and the community. So basically, what do you plan to do as mayor that can help? I know you can't get rid of violence, you know what I mean, but to help suppress it and better the relations between the police or sheriff's department and the Pontiac citizens.
Well, you're perfectly right. You can't get rid of violence. I mean, it is as it goes along with human nature since the world humans were created. But being that said, you can't throw your hands up and say there's nothing I can do, because there are things you can do. Because there are things that you have to be able to put your hands around and say, what can improve this situation? Because that's one of the most important things. That's the responsibility of the mayor and the people he appoints or they work with to conduct the public safety of the citizens everywhere. And that is to find ways in which you can improve the public sense of safety. And that's important for us to grow too, not just for the citizens who are here. But as and many people know, I was mayor before. I brought a lot of businesses to town, a lot of jobs, 20,000 jobs. And when businesses came and interviewed, and they often, we often recruited some of those companies to come and look at the city. And the question that they asked me as mayor, because I met with a lot of them to encourage them to come into our city and to set up business, because they were taxpayers. And so, and they brought jobs to our city. And as they interviewed me often to decide whether they were going to move from one city to another or establish their business here, there were often two questions that repeated themselves over and over. One of the questions was, how good is our school system? So, because, family employees often have families, and if they want to have their business in the city, they want to know, and they want to have the opportunity to move their families to the city. They want to know what the school system is like. So I was able to talk about the improvements in our school system, thank goodness, and the things that this board is really trying to do to improve our school system and their opportunities for our youth. And the second question they will often ask me is, how safe is the city? What is the crime record? All right. And I must say, before I became mayor, that was a very bad statistic. I can cite for you the statistic that number of years ago, that Pontiac was one of the most 10 most violent cities in the United States, not just Michigan, but in the United States. And that was a terrible, terrible, terrible stamp in our city. All right. I must say now that, and it wasn't all me, we had a number of changes here in terms of the Oakland County Sheriff came in and replaced the Pontiac department. And there were a number of changes. I said the school system has been improving and providing more opportunities for our young people, a number of things that have happened in our community. But by the time I left office, Pontiac was no longer even in the top 100. So in that period of time, our safety statistics had increased nationwide, on the nationwide ranking, 1,000%. Now that's something to say, all right?
Yeah.
But being that said, I'm glad that it has improved, and there's some things that we can quote as being an improvement in terms of the safety of Pontiac residents. But nonetheless, we still can't brag about the fact because there's still too many incidences of young people instead of living their life's dreams and developing their talents, are still shooting themselves on our streets. Okay.
Yeah.
So that we still can't brag about. There's a lot to be done. So the things that, and one of the things I have the advantage of among the other candidates is that I was mayor.
Yes.
As people probably know, that I was the first woman, female, who was elected to be strong mayor of the city of Pontiac. And we came in and had such progress for the city, particularly after the devastation that the emergency managers had caused. And I was able to come in and take the city from the point of bankruptcy, probably. You know, we were $30 million in debt
I'm dead.
when I first came, my first budget. And by the time I left, we were a $25 million surplus. Okay.
Mm.
That was a big, big jump for the city. So when you're in surplus and you're not hemorrhaging money like we were when I was first took mayor, there's a lot of opportunities for the city. We can provide a lot better services. You know, we can provide more opportunities for our young people. We can fix more roads. And in addition to the $25 million surplus that I passed on to the Grimal administration, I also brought in $38.7 million of ARPA funding. And I fought for that. And that was to help to rebuild our neighborhoods after COVID. So we'll go into that more on. But the fact that we had changed from not being amongst the 10 most violent cities in the United States, we weren't even in the top 100, was great. Now, some of the things that helped to affect that change, if we're talking about public safety, where I worked with the sheriff's department to have them be more accepted and be part of the community and not an occupying force. I think people accepted the sheriff's department better if they didn't feel that they were all estranged from our community. And I fought for the fact that we have more of the sheriff's deputies who had been former police officers in our Pontiac Police Service, people that had grown up in our community, people that knew our community. And the first chiefs of the Pontiac division for the sheriff were not of the community. But as you know now, that it is Sheriff Ewing, who is now a major. And I fought for him to replace the ones that the sheriff had originally picked. And Sheriff Ewing knows his community, brought in a lot of other former Pontiac members of the Pontiac Police Department who grew up here and knew the community and were recognized in the community and respected this community. So I think that was a help in having the sheriff's department accepted. The other thing is that the sheriff's department had set up their way of supplying officers and which officers. And I said, we wanted to have officers who were designated as community police officers. And so that was something that I instituted when I was mayor. And it took a while for me to convince Sheriff Bouchard to do that, but I'm pretty persistent when I think that there is something that's going to benefit the community. So he finally accepted that. And so the contract that I wrote, after the emergency manager did say that certain officers were going to be designated as community service officers. And that was important, I think, to have that better relationship between the sheriff's department. The other thing is that we started a discussion about the officers having body cams. All right. And when we first started out, the sheriff said, oh, I don't have the money, I don't have the funding. And we just kept on. In fact, I had one town hall in which I had Raheem Harris and the sheriff on the same town hall. And we kind of held his feet to the fire. And by the end of that, people know Raheem Harris. He's been a very much a community advocate. He's the leader of Pontiac Universal Crimes. I think you may be familiar with that group. And so I got two of them together on a town hall, and we kind of held our sway. And after that, the sheriff decided, okay, it is important to have body cams, and that's another way to have the police department have better relationships with the citizens of Pontiac. And now that is uniform amongst the sheriff's officers. So that's something that we're proud to have instigated, and it continues to this day. The other thing to improve police relations, and this gets back to also the issue of what we can do proactively for our young people in this community to turn this tide of this violence that has affected us all, and that ends in situations like last night, which frightens us all. And I think no one silver bullet is going to solve that.
Right.
As you said yourself, no one silver bullet, but it's a lot of things built collectively that's collaborative with a number of organizations that can help to make a difference in the attitude in the community. And one of those things for our young people was to have their youth center. Okay. And the history of that, I think people know, Pontiac had 4 youth centers in various parts of the town. A lot of the time when, a lot of years, I don't know how far back, we had 4, but plus 2 Boys and Girls Clubs. The Boys and Girls left the city. But a lot of people who've been here a long time remember fondly, where we had these youth centers. And you could sit there, yeah.
Yeah, I was. That's my era right there.
Okay.
Free lunch program at Howardale and Ewalt
Exactly.
Center. Like things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's my era right there.
Exactly. And that, and I wasn't born in Pontiac. I came here in the 70s, but my children, who are very proud of being Pontiac natives, grew up here. A lot of people out there remember Shauna and Toussaint, because they were. I was proud of the fact that my children grew up in the era in which Pontiac offered those amenities for its kids. All right. I was proud of the fact my son Toussaint, grew up playing baseball with the Granberries, who were their coaches for T-ball. And my son Shauna grew up, and she had a chance to act with Pontiac Theater 4. These were all kind of institutions.
Right.
And so long story short, the emergency manager, and I must say the emergency manager did a job on Pontiac. Just really did a hatchet job on Pontiac. So they closed all 4 youth centers. Closed all 4 youth centers, things that were proud of the community. And so that meant that the youth growing up then, now, didn't have the opportunities that my children had, or that you had, or that all the other youth who are now adults remember in Pontiac. And that was one of the prides of our community. So that was one of the things that I promised that I would do when I was running for office. I said, that was one thing that's important to our community, and I will work hard to get a youth center restored in this community. And I did. Took a while to get something that the council would agree upon, but we were just trying to decide a spot. And I was able to open a youth center off of Gulf Drive. All right.
Yeah.
And the council liked it at first. It was was something that we could use temporarily. They decided until we decided to buy it. They actually were going to buy it. And it actually set aside $3.2 million. We could have bought it for that amount. But, they decided at the end not to buy it. And that's a long story too. The new mayor came in and was campaigning for office, and he said, oh, you don't need this one. I will build you. I will build you a new one with that. All right. So that was 4 years ago. And now the new one that we're supposed to have is still just a hole in the ground. So anyway, but I did open a youth center on the promises.
Yeah, I remember my son. I was dropping him off there for
yes,
basketball and things
yes,
like that when I was open over there.
yes. And not only that, but the people of Pontiac came out and voted the youth millage because they wanted so much for their children to have a youth center where they could go and they could congregate and they have something of their own. And that was just an aftermath of the emergency manager having cut off those treasured memories of the past in terms of our youth center. So I opened the youth center, and in the youth center, it was important, I think, as one of the things we did to offer opportunities to our youth that they used to have. And in that youth center, which was, kids love basketball, and in our community, and so one of the things about this particular building was that it had an Olympic basketball, and that was always full. The kids, the fact that we had the youth center open all day long meant kids could come in and use the basketball court, and it was a building that would have needed some additional renovations. We got it from a school that had closed, so it wasn't as beautiful as the new one would be, but it was useful at the time. All right. And it was better than the fact that we don't have any youth center right now. Okay.
Yeah.
But in the youth center, it was, we got it because it had a lovely basketball court, but it also had a lot of other rooms. And one of the things that I did, and this is getting back to what it does to improve community safety, was that I actually convinced Sheriff Bouchard to put a sheriff mini station in the building. All right. So that meant we had an assigned sheriff who was there every day, all day. All right. And, it wasn't so much to intimidate children, but it's just to have a sense of safety. And
that helps relations too. You know what I mean?
It helps them.
That would help the relationship between, the citizens, the kids, and the police officers, like Pal used to do.
Absolutely.
So, I understand.
In fact, that was one of the partners that I had in providing activities to the children. We partnered with PAL as well as a lot of organizations. But the effect of having that mini station, and I can quote a couple of the officers who were assigned. They assigned an officer who had a good relationship with kids, who was one of the younger officers, and who could shoot hoops because he turned out to be, rather than a guardian, he turned out actually to be a mentor and a counselor to the young people. And also the safety part was he was also attuned enough and could talk to these young people enough and have that kind of rapport that they would also often tell him if there were some gang problems or something that happened in school about threats between certain groups. And he could head it off, when they came to the youth center. In fact, he was, there were several who served that position. I remember Sheriff James, Deputy James, and Deputy Blackberry. I love Deputy Blackberry because he was a great, he could shoot the hoops. So they loved him. Right? So, and Blackberry, he challenged me every time I came over there. If I came over there, and he called me in the gym and said, "Don't you want to see the mayor shoot the hoops?" And I'd have to get up there and try not to hit
put you into it too.
Right. He always put me on the spot. So I eventually took some lessons so that the last few times he called me on the spot, and especially the girls, he'd tell the girls, "Don't you want to see the mayor dunk the ball? Don't you want to see the mayor dunk the ball?"
Hold on now.
Yeah, dunk the ball, dunk the ball. So I couldn't.
Got to crawl before you walk. Got to crawl before you walk. So John Hassan, who was one of our teachers over there, instructors, he taught me how to hold the ball. So by the end of my term, when we had this youth center, I was able to get him in. And my last couple were sure net. Hey, look, I'll take a challenge lightly. Okay. Right. Step up to the plate. That's good. Welcome. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Vadar Vision. We have special guest, Mayoral Candidate Deirdre Waterman on. Please hit the share button. Share this up. Let's get this out to the community. This is Who's for Pontiac. I'm interviewing right now with Mayoral Candidate Deirdre Waterman. So could continue. I'm sorry. I just
so we were talking about the community policing and how having that sense of the community policing at the youth center also was something that helped the relations with the youth center, and also was a protective mechanism for the community. Because, as I said, a few times, the sheriff's deputy who was assigned there, by talking to the kids and having that rapport, they would tell him if there was some threat or somebody was they were worried about. And a couple of times he was able to intercept that. A couple of times I remember he intercepted the young person that came in and found a gun in the backpack. Okay. So he was able to nip that off from the bud right there. And that was because he was tipped off by the students who were, who felt confident being able to tell them what was going on.
Yeah.
So those are the things about community policing, I think, that helps, because people are more likely to be helpful and responsive to policing if they feel that they are not,
if they trust them. It's a trust thing.
Right. But if they trust them, okay. So that makes us all safer.
Right.
When we have a sheriff's department that can work with the confidence of the population. All right. So that was one of the things. But the other things we need to do is to just make sure that we look at some of the people who are involved in this crime and the gangs, and see if there aren't ways that we can intervene in that. All right. So one of the things that is developing now that they spent this ARPA money on, the ARPA money that I brought to town, is to have this violent intervention task force. So, that's been talked about, and they're trying to get it off the ground. And so that's supposed to start, but that's also just another step in doing that. But the other thing that I like to quote is the fact that there's nothing that stops a bullet like a job. And some of these young people who are out there getting into no good, getting into these wars with each other. And, there's a lot of factors in that. But one of the things that has helped is if these young people, instead of being aimless and having this kind of violent thinking, if instead they have some positive outlets for their lives. If you got a job and you got to show up every day and you have a family to support, right? Yeah. Sorry?
No, I just say if you got a job, you don't have time to be in a mess.
If you have a job and you have a purpose in life, and you can have the support system, and to get there, and then to change your mindset about life, then that has been shown to be one of the preventive factors in terms of getting some other avenue of thinking and outcome for a young person who might otherwise be aimlessly swayed into this kind of conflict and behavior. So one of the things that I was very proud and determined to do as mayor is that, when I started office, there were so many people who didn't have jobs, who didn't have the opportunity for jobs.
Right.
And I hired Pontiac people as much as I could for the jobs. I started out, the emergency manager cut me down to, I only had 28 people working government. So I had to rebuild the government, and rebuild the money to rebuild the government. So by the time I left office, I made sure that 40% of the employees that I was able to hire were Pontiac people, where those opportunities were related to our citizens.
Okay, well, I'm glad you went there. I wanted to speak on the economic development of the city.
Okay.
I wanted to know, what plans do you have to attract new businesses and create jobs for Pontiac?
Okay. So as I said, one of the advantages I have is that I have been mayor, and I have a track record of the things that I have done. So some of the others can talk about, oh, well, if I were mayor, I would do this and that. But I have the advantage of saying, not only do I do that what I will do, but that's what I have done.
What you've done already.
So I have a track record. And the track record, and not everybody remembers this, knows this, so let me just go through what my track record was. And I started out by telling you how I had to rebuild the government and also undo some of the damage that was done to the city by the emergency manager. So we get past that. And one of the ways I was able to get our city back in the black again, because we were deeply in the red, was economic development. And that was bringing in new businesses. And I brought in a lot of new businesses, and that was part of the effect I had as mayor to be able to sell the city and to bring in many new businesses that otherwise would not have come to Pontiac or had been encouraged to come to Pontiac, but because they saw the way that we had affected the administration, made it a cleaner city. I got rid of a lot of the blight in our neighborhoods. We took down 900 rat-infested homes, that had been there for years and years. Got rid of those and cleaned up our neighborhoods. And so businesses saw what we were doing, saw how Pontiac had improved under my administration. And so we were able to get a number of businesses coming out. Let me just remind you of some of them. I talk about $500 million, but some of you may even have jobs. And I'm going to bring in one of the big ones was Amazon. Okay. So yeah, it took a while to get that Silverdome demolished. And a lot of people remembered when we blew up the Silverdome. It took us quite a bit of dynamite to blow up the Silverdome. But we had to get a company who was willing to do that much building in Pontiac. And the company we now have is Amazon. A lot of cities wanted Amazon, but I was fortunate and convincing Amazon to come to Pontiac. Mm-hmm. Amazon brought 9,000 jobs. Okay, over time. Now, and of course, Amazon brought in economic development, and they pay a lot of taxes. All right, and I'm very proud of Amazon, particularly because every other mayor I talked to who had brought Amazon to their city said, "Hey, be careful. We had to give Amazon a lot of tax breaks." Well, guess what? I was able to convince them to come in, and I didn't give them one tax break. Okay, not only that, but the $10 million in kind of infrastructure repair the city would have had to do for the roads and for the street lights and all of that. I convinced Amazon, hey, look, why don't you just pay for that? Okay, and they did. Mm-hmm. So that was $10 million that the taxpayers didn't have to pay for, that I convinced Amazon to pay for, and they are here and they are good stewards. All right, so that's one big business, but I'm gonna name a number of them. United Shore, you heard of them? Okay, United Shore, remember, I run into young people every day who are now working at United Shore. All right, so I'm sorry, they are the ones who have 9,000 employees that they brought to the city. 9,000. United Shore. Yeah, I said at Amazon. Amazon is not that many. Amazon is closer to about 2,500, 3,000. Okay, but United Shore is 9,000. All right. And they have trained and hired a lot of Pontiac people. And not only that, but they have brought all that economic development to South Boulevard. They have really built up South Boulevard. And the city has benefited from, for example, the sports complex they have over there. In the absence of having our own youth center, a lot of our young people use that youth center. And then we use the complex. I know a lot of nonprofits have events over there. So that has been a benefit to this community. And also,
you're talking about UWM? UWM?
UWM, yeah, you call it UWM, and United Shore was the name that I brought them in. And not only that, but they had originally gotten a tax break, but then it was only about $2 million. But they a couple of years after they've been here, they said, "Hey, look, Mayor, we see what you've done for the city, and we admire the progress that you've brought. So we don't need that $2 million as much as you do. And they gave us back. They gave us back the $2 million. So they ended up getting no tax breaks because they saw the progress of the city and they wanted to be part of that. Okay, other companies that we brought in. Let me just mention a few of them. So Flagstar, Array had a lot of time visiting with some of our trainees and City Pontiac residents that hired over Array. Anybody's listening, hey Array, okay, love that you gotten these jobs, and they love those jobs, and they've gotten a lot of training there. The whole complex called Village of Bloomfield, that was just sitting there, a bunch of disheveled buildings that had not been finished and completed, and was able, as part of the conglomerate, that was able to find a new developer for the Village of Bloomfield. And under my tenure, that place was then restarted. And now we have Menards and Henry Ford Hospital, and anybody go for exercises at Planet Fitness, okay? And a number of different American houses over there for our seniors. So all that came in. Those were all businesses that came in that we were able to attract during my terms in office. And 20,000 jobs, when you add those all up, and that's just many, many other places in addition to the ones I'm naming right here, small and large. And we appreciate the small businesses too that came in. And we want to continue to support the small businesses because they're equally as important to our economy growth. And also because the ones that are owners who are citizens of Pontiac, we want to support our small businesses too. So the things we have done to attract those, I use a lot of my own personal attention as a business owner, as a business, I've been a business woman myself, and I brought those kind of background and experience to my role as mayor. And that's why we were very successful in being able to lure the other businesses, and not just the ones downtown. Okay, I think that we want to look at the whole city as a whole in terms of bringing businesses in. So
yeah, sure, we want to look at the all areas of the city. That's true
all
enough.
areas of the city.
With
Exactly.
so much going on downtown, which brings me to another question I had.
So
will the citizens of Pontiac be able to, develop down there also, or is it just going to be, for customers and jobs?
develop down there, and tell me about the question again. That you're asking.
I was wondering,
down there.
Excuse me.
You said something about down there when they developed down there. Were you talking about
downtown Pontiac? I'm sorry. When you had brought up downtown Pontiac, we were talking about small businesses. So I was wondering, will the citizens of Pontiac be able to, buy in on in the redevelopment of downtown, or will we just be reduced to being customers and getting jobs? You know what I mean?
Well, that's the $64,000 question, and that a lot of that depends on who is the next mayor that you choose. Okay, we're at that crossroads right now. We see under this administration that there wasn't the support for local small business to be involved in Pontiac that there was when I was mayor. When I was mayor, we had developed, worked with the Downtown Development Association, Main Street, to encourage small businesses to locate downtown, and had brought in experimentation, and it's had different hands, but even the Vogue nightclub is trying to survive. Ronnie McNair is trying to open up his business, and finally succeeded because he got some of the ARPA money that I brought to town. So one of the things that we want to make sure of is that we want to have a different larger outlook for all kinds of businesses downtown, and not just, I want to say this very carefully, because under this current administration, we have seen that ownership of property downtown has fallen into certain homes, certain hands. In terms of minorities owning businesses downtown,
Right.
my husband and I were the last African Americans to own property downtown.
The Waterman building.
The Waterman building, right? And so I'm just saying, you know, that is, and we invested in downtown because we believed in the city coming back, and we invested in downtown at a time when, well, many years ago, because we felt that we wanted to be part of Pontiac's revival and wanted to push for that. And because also at the time, and I'll give you a little history, at the time when the cable company was coming to town, and my husband wanted to make sure that the jobs they brought were going to come to Pontiac as opposed to Waterford. And the excuse they had for not locating their headquarters in Pontiac was because they didn't have a building. And my husband said, "Oh, we'll fix that." So he went and bought that building downtown. And so all the trainees and all the jobs that from the early days of the cable coming to the city were right here in Pontiac. So as you talk about the history, and I haven't had a chance to go through the bio, I know I kind of diverted that, talk about my involvement in Pontiac and the things that we have done.
We can
I'll
still
get back to that, but that was one of the things that we did and invested in Pontiac, put our money where our mouth was. And so the question is now whether which small businesses are going to be able to survive, because we see that under this administration, some of the ones that were trying to survive have just closed their doors. Such things as Alley Cat, is gone, and Biscuit and Bourbon Biscuits is gone, and there were little cafes down there. Those are mostly gone. So it depends on what the leadership, the next administration that comes in, will do differently to ensure that it's not just the big developers who get our development money, but also the small businesses. And right now, we're kind of disappointed with the way this administration has supported the small businesses. And I'm going to relate back to the ARPA money, which was supposed to have economic development. For people who don't know what I mean by ARPA money, is the federal government gave cities this money, which was supposed to be used as the last money that was coming for COVID-19 relief. And that money that was coming to Pontiac was originally supposed to be about $5.8 million. And that was during the last year of my administration. And I said to myself, well, we should get more than that. We need more than that. And I looked at other cities and I said they were getting a lot more than we were. So anyway, long story short, I went through the channels of diplomacy, and with the help of the Michigan Municipal League, I was able to reach out as one of the cities that was declared a metropolitan city for a year. And I replied to the United States Secretary of the Treasury. And because of that campaign, City of Pontiac got $38.8 million. That's a lot more. They can do a lot more revival and help for our small businesses and our citizens than the 5.8. So that was the money that the administration that came after Mr. Grimal's administration and this council inherited, in addition to the $25 million surplus I left them. That was also the money, the $38.8 million. And I'm very disappointed. The reason I stayed involved with that is because I had to repeatedly go and say, hey, look, this money, a lot more should be going to our homeowners, to help to keep our neighborhoods revived by doing the repairs on their home, and to our small businesses. Okay, to our small businesses who are struggling to come back after COVID and who are struggling to survive while the city was coming up. Mm-hmm. So I have, as people know, I have stayed involved. I didn't go hide after my administration.
You've still been around.
I was a mayor who was around, and I helped the council because sometimes some of them weren't aware of where the money was going, and so I would come and I kept them had them recognize when the mayor was trying to take money out of the ARPA funding that would have given less to our small businesses, and so that's part of the small business support that could have been much more valuable. And the new mayor, this money has to be done and allocated by the end of 26. So the new mayor will have 1 year. Okay, still have 1 year to get more of that money allocated, because not enough of it, given all the money that I brought in, went to our homeowners and citizens who could have used it for repairs. And not enough of it has been administered for our small businesses. A lot of our small businesses never knew about it, never knew they could apply. And there's money that it's just been sitting there for 4 years because they haven't allocated it. And it's been administered so poorly that they keep saying they're going to do a second round, but it keeps getting pushed back. It was supposed to be a year ago, and now it's supposed to start July 1st, and it still hasn't started. So I just keep going down there and saying, hey, look, people could use this money, our small businesses. That's what we brought it here for. It's doing no good to them to have it sitting in the city's budget for 4 years of this administration, because they can administer it. And the other thing about the money that was supposed to go to the homeowners, some people got it, and that's great. But the people who didn't get it, who didn't even get a chance to apply, and it was administered so badly by this administration that the day they announced that they were going to have applications open to homeowners, people were calling, the lines were flooded. People were lined up, I understand, all around City Hall. And
some of these resources people don't know about.
People didn't even know.
A lot of these resources people don't even know are there for.
So that's why I've stayed around, because I've been able to prod council to be aware of what's going on, and the homeowners who never even got a chance to even turn in an application. That's ridiculous. And that money's been here for 4 years. So It depends on who is going to be elected the next mayor, because Pontiac's at a crossroads right now. Pontiac's at a crossroads, and whoever's going to be elected for the next mayor should have the insight, should be able to follow the money, and should have the experience of how to administer this, so that they won't have the same kind of lackadaisical attitude that this mayor's had, about doing it. And this is the citizens' loss and the businesses' loss. So I would support small businesses first by being able to allocate more of this ARPA money, as well as to make sure that they have the other supports that are needed. And it's not just the big businesses. It's not that the big business that got the sweetheart deal of $19 million, but it's the citizens and the homeowners.
Little people that count. Yes. Can't forget the little people. Forget the people. I want to move on to education. I'd like to know, what initiatives will you support to improve local schools and educational opportunities?
Okay. Education is a very, very important consideration for me. All right. It's, education and developing our young people is one of the most important things the community can do. And so education was important to me. And you might say that my experience, my family's experience in town was very much related to education. And maybe some of your younger audience doesn't remember this, but the reason my husband's name, Honorable William Waterman, is on the courthouse was because of what he did and what the people remember him for in terms of the fight for equity education for all the children of Pontiac. So I won't go into the history of that, but but that, he and Albert Hadget were the ones who fought that for all the children of Pontiac, and so that made a difference. But that's history now. But it's important for people to know that that's part of the legacy. And so you might say, in a way, education is part of the Waterman legacy in Pontiac, and the fact that my husband had that history and was that hero, along with Albert Hatchett and Chris Brown and some of the others who fought that fight, to establish the fact how important it was to have an equity system for education that we can be proud of, that our children had an access to. So, and as I said, education and our school system is something that we're linked with the success of the city, because I've told you about how important that is to incoming businesses and residents who want to live here, about what our school system is like. So we're kind of linked in the progress of the city and the progress of our education system. And the schools are very important. My first experience in politics was to save our library, which I thought was a very important part of the education and literacy opportunities for our children, as well as for the whole community. And we didn't get a chance earlier on to talk about my background, but I will bring that up. Now we're talking about education. And before I was elected official and serving the population of Pontiac, I was a ophthalmologist, which is an eye doctor. And a lot of people know me because I treated their eyes, or I run into people all the time who said, you operated on my son's eyes, or you took out my mother's cataracts. And so that was my profession. All right. And so education is very important in that. So in getting established in education. And I talk to young people all the time about, no, you follow your dream, you be you, don't be limited, and getting an education. And whether it's whatever field or whatever your dream or whatever your specialty is, it's important. And so as a community, that's one of the services that we should be proud of, even though that the citizens have decided that the control of the school system is in different hands than the mayor. The mayor has no authority over the school system, that the school system is controlled by a board that is elected by the citizens. But I've always thought that it was important that the school system and the city government be collaborative in their efforts, because education of our children is an important part and a function of what a community does. So one of the things in terms of the school system that I have done and been interested in and continue to do was we've already supported the school system, whether it's donating to some of their different funds or their kind of projects. But also, as mayor, one of the things I would do and would continue to do was, number one, support the fact that we're able to save the library, but also we have collaborated with the school system in offering enrichment activities. When we had the youth center, one of our partners was the school system in terms of offering additional enrichment activities. We didn't want the youth center to be just a place for kids to go play the basketball, but we wanted them also, while they were there having fun, to also be able to have a computer lab and to have
computer lab. They had karate, computer lab.
We had karate. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff going on.
We had lots going on, and we have lots of partners. We had music, we had a band. In fact, we had revived the Pontiac band, alumni band, and so there was a lot going on. And so those are things in which we can be an adjunct to what the city provides. In addition to the fact that some of the activities we actually collaborated with the school system and providing, and that's continuing on to this day. But those are the things that we can support. In addition to that one of the kinds of collaborations I was able to do that helped our school system was to have a partnership with Oakland University. And Oakland University has used its resources to bring in a lot of their professors and their outreach programs to provide summer camps and to provide extra tutoring and mentoring for our children. And also the Horizons Upward Bound program, which offers scholarships to a number of our students. That has been through Oakland University. So by developing that partnership with Oakland University, as well as OCC, which is also joined in, was a way for many of our children to have added functions applied to their school experience in Pontiac schools, and have those additional opportunities for that kind of educational experience.
Okay, Joanne Green would like to know, what can the city government do to change the failure of our below grade level reading as far as the
Yeah.
kids go?
So, as I said, we are partners with the school system, but we do not, by the choice of the Pontiac voters, the school system has its own board, which sets its own standards and hires the teachers and sets its own curriculum. So I have always worked in coordination with the superintendent. And I'm glad that some boards have been stronger than other school boards in deciding the vision of our school system. And I'm glad that this current board has been very proactive in doing that. And anything that I can do to collaborate and to use city resources to help in partnership with that, I would do. But as I said, that's something that the Pontiac school system has to be accountable for. And that's what we want to hold our board responsible for, making sure that this long-standing of Pontiac schools, the lower ranks of reading ability, is not acceptable. And we want to make sure that there are continued improvements in that. And I think this board is reaching out to do that.
Okay. Well, also, I want to add to her question, to Joanne's question. Read to your kids. Read with your kids. Don't leave it in the hands of the government and the teachers to educate your kids, man. You got to take. I read with my son. You know what I mean? So my son likes to read. Make reading fun at home, so that it's not as much of a failure. So you can't just throw the kids to the teachers and say, oh, this is why their reading level is low. Make sure they're reading at home too. That's just my take on it. As a parent.
And then you're perfect. I agree with you 100%. I think that's a very thing, because I love to learn. Loving to learn is something that you can start at home. All right. And once a child loves to learn, then the rest is kind of easy. So, but I want all of Pontiac school children to have the same opportunities as your children have, as you read to them, and that my children have. Okay. And that's where, as mayor, I did, and as a private citizen, but as mayor too, I've always worked do what I can to be in concert with the school board and to encourage them to continue to find the ways to enrich and to improve the faculty and the curriculum of our students, so that Pontiac can continue to grow in terms of its ability to advance more of our students to careers and to the preparation for careers. And one of the things that we need to integrate, and I think they're realizing more, not just Pontiac school system, but a lot of school systems, is that it's, everybody used to be, well, you weren't successful unless you could go on to college. Well, now we see that in a world in which technology is valued a lot more, and there's different ways in which people can be prepared for careers that are enriching and that are rewarding. And now it's more of a tendency to expand upon the kind of offerings and capabilities that children can choose for. And so having young people have opportunities to look at trades, which are going to be more and more important, and the whole field of technology and artificial intelligence, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be stamped with a degree from a four-year college to be able to be successful in a lot of those skills. So those are the kinds of opportunities that we want our school system, as others have, to expand upon the vision of how they prepare people and prepare our young people, and also to engage our young people and to give them the options of being successful in some of these other ways of going on. I see the questions from Joanne Green, and all these things you say are perfectly true. I am as troubled with them as they are, as you are, and those are things that we have to continue to work with our school board, because those are the ones who have the responsibility and accountability.
That's what I was going to get to. The mayor and the city council is actually a separate entity that works with the school board. The city council and the mayor don't really control everything that the school board does. They work with them. That's why I asked her what initiatives will she support in helping. So that's what she's explaining. I don't know.
And one of the things we can do is make parents and families aware of some of the other opportunities. For example,
the resources.
The resources, the Promise Zone, that not enough of our students take advantage of. The Promise Zone is money that's available for advanced education for our students in Michigan. So the fact that not enough of our students are aware of that and can prepare themselves for that, to take advantage of it. There's millions of dollars left there on the table that would be available. But one of the things that I worked with the school board in making young people aware of that, and was worked with a number of organizations that gave scholarships, to support that. So that's important. Also, as I said, some of the other opportunities offered to some of the other partner schools, such as Oakland University, such as OCC, have programs, such as vocational school have programs. And I understand those are opening up. So the fact that we can help to publicize those and help to make them, let parents and students know that those are available, that's also a part that this city administration can do, and that I would do as mayor, that I've done. And that was one of the reasons why I involved myself early on with the library as an example of the literacy and the importance of literacy that our community has.
Okay, moving on to infrastructure. I'd like to know how you would plan to address the infrastructure needs like roads and public transportation and utilities.
Yeah. So that should be a priority of any administration, because if you do a survey of our citizens and say, what are the most important issues to you in Pontiac? And inevitably, in the survey, the top one or two would be fix our roads. And that is, so that should be the priority of any administration, any mayor. It certainly was of mine. One of the things that we did was get additional money to fix our roads. And we also did an assessment of what the problem was. And as far back as my administration, I don't know if this administration has done as much of a survey as we did, but we rated all of the roads to see, what was the status of the nature of the road repairs we needed in this community. Our roads are terrible. And they're terrible because of the lack of investment of of, um, of prior administrations that the city was uh, going bankrupt, and we had emergency managers who decided that they were going to not
So
do any repairs and
everything.
care of our infrastructure. So we were just way behind. So there is some money that comes regularly every year to every administration from the state and from the county. So their money is there. But uh, as we figured out in our administration, where we did a whole um, evaluation of the which roads were bad and how many roads needed to be repaired, um, we realized that the city, if they were to repair all the roads that had a bad PASER rating, and that's how you rate the roads, and that's what I had our engineers do. They did PASER ratings of all the roads, and that really should be done by the administration every 3 years for all the roads. I don't know if it's been done by this administration. They don't report it out, but the PASER ratings show that if we were to get all those roads repaired that had PASER ratings, we would need $300 million just for our local roads and about $400 million um, uh, for our major roads. That's a lot of money. And the current administration realizes that they've got the same thing. But the problem is you need an administration that's going to deal with the problem head on and have a plan. The problem with what's going on now is that, quite frankly, we have a mayor who's checked out. Okay. He
Yeah, he's,
he's
you
checked
don't
out.
want no parts of the whole thing. Yeah, he left it alone for
Well, we
whatever
knew
reason.
that from the beginning. A lot of us knew when he came here and was supported by certain people that he was just passing through. You know, he
That's
barely
what
been
that's
in the
that's,
year. He was just
that's what I'm trying to avoid. That's what I'm trying to avoid. With what I'm doing here, man. I want these people to get to know these candidates, man, and use that to further your decision.
yes.
That's all. Man. If you're watching, hit the share button. Follow everything being Vader Vision on all platforms. We here right now on Who's on Vader Vision, Who's for Pontiac with Mayoral Candidate Deirdre Waterman. Thank you for coming again. I really appreciate it. But go ahead. You can finish. I just wanted to get that in there.
So we were talking about roads and repair of our infrastructure and what we might plan. So I'm just pointing out what the actual situation was and what the mayor has to address. So uh, when I was mayor, we had a lot. We were just catching up from behind, and the problem is now is a couple of things that are troubling this administration that the next mayor should address, and that I would address, and how I would address it. One problem is that, particularly, there's a lot of concern about the Martin Luther King breach and the fact that people have been told different things about the repair of that and such an inconvenience, and um, it has been, I think, just a thorn in the side because they've been told different things at different times by this administration. So people have gotten to the point that they're just really frustrated because of the lack of transparency. And I can understand that. So that just builds upon people's dissatisfaction when people felt that they couldn't get a straight answer from the administration. So that just changed a situation that was pretty easily the mayor could have just told us, that this was what was actually going on. Part of the problem we later found out was that, and one of the things this administration has had that, as I said, my administration was different. And so I have the proven track record about that, is that this administration has had so many of its department heads who just got disgusted with the, didn't want to be involved with this administration. So they've left. It's been a revolving door. And one of the people they haven't been able to rehire is a city engineer. We've always had a city engineer. As a city engineer who would have started the landscape and the design process for the Martin Luther King Bridge. And because we didn't have a city engineer, that's probably the reason why this wasn't started a lot earlier, and why people are finding out that it's going to take longer than they actually anticipated to actually get this project done. But that's just my estimate, because I happen to know how these things work. But the fact that they were told such different things by the administration just makes it people more frustrated, and that's why. So one of the things in government that has been always important to me and makes everything a lot easier is sometimes just transparency. And as I have been mayor and elected official, I have always valued the fact that people respected the fact that I was transparent, and that I just leveled with people, and told them the truth about things, and didn't try to sneak money out of one budget to the next. Like this one, I had to go tell council, hey, look, don't let the mayor take $10 million out of the ARPA fund. And they didn't see it at first, but finally, as I got and told them, they prohibited it, and they left it. So that was one of the things. But that's the kind of transparency. And I think as a public official, it's always been important. And I think it's an honor to serve and be elected by the people. And I take that as an important service. And I always felt it was an honor that we wanted to continue to show that respect for people, and to be clear about what the plan was. And right now, we don't have a plan, okay? And that's what people are sensing in terms of our infrastructure. So we need a plan in terms of, given the money we have, what is the way we're going to get our roads and infrastructure up to standard, and to tell them the truth about why the bridge repair was held up and what they can really expect.
Right. Yeah, when we'll be able to get into the city from that side of town.
Yeah, well, and also the fact that with the construction going on for the Phoenix Center, that's also another obstruction that people have to abide with. And I know it's frustrating, but that's what you have to prepare people for. And you got to be honest with them about what sacrifice we'll have to make to get those things done. And it's the integrity, the word that I always keep close, because I feel responsible to have the integrity of leadership, because I value the trust that people put in me. And if somebody comes up and questions my integrity, and I think some of that's going on, I'm not going to mince words, but there are, some elements in this community have been going around slandering my name. And that is something that I will challenge. I will speak up, all right? Because integrity is important. That is a value. I'm not going to let anybody, for the purpose of their slimy politics, come in and question my integrity. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm going to do.
It can most definitely get ugly, when the mudslinging starts. But hopefully, regardless to who wins, at the end of the day, we really need all of you, and all of us. We need everybody's participation in working together. Regardless to who might not like who doesn't, get with who's not in the in crowds with these different people, man. We need all of y'all, man. we need all of us. We need everybody, moving forward, city forward.
So in closing, and I do appreciate this, and I know that look at the time here, and you get me involved in some things that I'm kind of passionate about and to talk about. I look like, oh, this time is here.
It's totally okay. This is an open forum for you guys. It's not like a debate where you have certain things they let you talk about in a set amount of time. Feel free to express yourself and let people personally get to know you on this platform. That's what it's.
I appreciate the opportunity to do that, and I appreciate that your understanding of a lot of the issues of the city. And I think you also are sincere about realizing that you want the wider citizenry and the people who don't vote and are not engaged to realize why this is important to them. So and that's why I'm happy to have the time now. As we've been at this for a bit, and I remember that you wanted to start out by my talking about the background and why I was asking.
So yeah, you could take this time in closing to actually, just picture a new voter that doesn't know your background, doesn't know, about you. Let them know who you are and why you are running for mayor of the great city of Pontiac, Michigan. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you for that. And I know it was my fault. You wanted to start out there, but
we just talking. As long as we get to it, everything's all right. It's gonna work out.
Well, one of the things that my background, and that's why we kind of started talking about that, was I am a lover of this city, and I have been here for a great number of years and have been part of the community, and see that Pontiac is a beautiful community with a resilient population of many people who love the city as I do and want to make this as great a city as it can be. And with the amenities that other cities have that we long have been short on, and anything that I can do, both have done as a citizen, but also as an elected official, I felt that that was an opportunity to serve the people of Pontiac, and I will do it to the best of my ability. So that is basically my whole DNA, and so I'm proud to have this opportunity to relate that to people. So one of the things that I would like to say in terms of background, you say a lot of people do know about me already. Yeah, they know we've been in the community and they know the name of Waterman. And I'm very proud to say, and I want to continue this legacy, that whenever Waterman is the helm of things, Pontiac does well. Pontiac is benefits, whether it was from the legacy of my husband or the things that I was able to bring in as mayor. So, and a lot of people you think would know that, but a lot of people don't. Yeah. A lot of people the young people I run into who are working at United Wholesale Mortgage, as you call it, or at Amazon or at some of these other places, don't realize that those came in under my administration because I worked to bring them in. So those are the things I want to go out.
Talk.
What?
No, I was just saying, talk your talk. Say what you speak it. Talk your talk.
So that they don't realize that that's my track record here. Don't realize my track record is that I brought in the community policing. Don't realize that the Youth and Rec Center was something that I fought for the city. Don't realize that the money that to support our small businesses and our citizens and homeowners was money that I fought for and brought to the city that this administration is spending now, but should really work toward administering in a better way. And that the next mayor is probably going to have to finish that up. And I hope that that's what I can do so that more people who didn't get even a chance to get some of this ARPA money will get a chance to apply for it. And it won't be politically granted without any policies. It will be for more people that deserve that. And so that's what I would do as mayor. And we have a year to do that because we have to finish that by December of 2026, next year. Okay. And also some of the things that I've been pushing for too, that one of the things as mayor that I want to increase the transparency that we have. And I think that's been some of the dismay that people have with this current administration. And the things that, for example, our retirees, that was one of the things that I had um, uh, responsibility for when I became mayor, was to solve the fact that the emergency manager had cut off the health insurance for our retirees, and that was something that the city had promised them. So that was one of the things I was able to settle, and we also found out as a result of the settlement and the studies that we had done that we could increase the monthly pension benefit of the retirees. And so I left the plan for that before I left office, which could have been done. And the retirees have been trying and trying just to get that done. And the mayor has been dragging that along, and the council has been not able to really prod him to go ahead and settle that. And he's been giving every alibi until just recently, just last night, finally, he said that they had got a proposed settlement for that. But, after 4 years of hearing all these excuses, the poor retirees who've been waiting, some of them are still kind of disillusioned, and they say, well, we'll believe it when we get $1. Nobody's gotten $1 of the improved benefits that they could have had, that now we've been talking about for 5 years. So that's the kind of thing that I think I would help with, because I think the things that, as I said, the problem with this administration that I've sit there and witnessed have been just because of the not been transparency and good faith between the administration and our citizens, who deserve to have answers, and that's the way I would treat it as mayor. Another thing, and as I said, that we talked about the roads and the infrastructure. I think that's part of the disillusionment that the people have, because that's a priority. And the priorities that the people have should be the priorities of the mayor. And they would be my priority to getting our streets and our infrastructure fixed, and having a plan. We can't do it all in 1 year or 2 years. We got to have a plan for how we're going to do that. And that should be something that's transparent and told to people, and not just, we hope manna will fall out of heaven and it'll get done, because that is the priority. So the people's priorities are my priorities. And that's the way we look at it, as opposed to other kinds of schemes that this mayor had. And don't even get me going on the problem with the way the Phoenix Center deal was handled. And instead of the $19 million sweetheart deal, and as you say, this administration has given more attention to the downtown, and that $50 million that was supposed to come for Pontiac for downtown development. And they didn't trust this administration, so they gave it to the county. But the mayor was responsible for the fact that there was a $19 million sweetheart deal that was given to developers, which I call it sweetheart deal. And just think if that same $19 million had been given to Pontiac citizens and the homeowners and the businesses, how much more there would have been to share amongst those businesses. So that's the kind of problems that I would immediately address as mayor of the city. One of the things that I have, and it's an advantage over the other candidates, is that I have been mayor. All right, and some people say, well, you did marvelous things for the city and have a very good track record. You could just rest on that. Well, I could, but then I sat back and I said, I saw what was going on, and it seems like all the progress we made, it kind of got stalled with this administration. And I just said that would be a terrible thing if all that work we had done, all the things people had suffered, and all the potential, if that were not used to its full ability to help our community grow. And so as I come in and I talk about my candidacy and why I'm asking people to vote for me as a candidate that they can depend upon, is the fact that I have the track record. They already see what I have done. Some of them see, as I use mediums like this to come out and talk to people, to remind, because a lot of the younger people don't really realize that that was what the benefit of the administration. So the quote that we like to use is that Pontiac wins with Waterman, because I not only talk the talk, but I walk the talk, and I have the proven results and the proven leadership. And that's some of the handouts some of the people have been seeing as we pass that out. And I ask people on your ballot, Deirdre Waterman for mayor. Okay, I am on the ballot, and I do pledge to you, if I'm glad to have this opportunity to talk about, for people who don't know me and don't know my intent and don't know my integrity, for be able to pass that out, and for people who, like you, who do remember and do have a sense to also be able to underscore that. So thank you for allowing me to be here. If people elect me again, I will do my very best. And this is my last hurrah. You know, I've done a lot for this community in many different ways, both as a trusted eye doctor, then as a chair of the library board, saving the library, then as the mayor for the things we brought in. And one of the things that would be very important to me is, as you talked about education and opportunities for young people, is to, I see that there's a lot of younger generation people who could be leaders and who will be leaders. And I want to, if I were elected, fill my administration with some of those people who need the opportunity to see what it's actually like and to learn about the operations of government and how you run the city and how you address the issues, and give them a chance to begin to take over and be the next leaders that people can choose from. I'm going to, thanks, Max Main. And you're one of those young leaders I'm talking about, because you are great. Thank you for that encouragement. So, but it's important for you guys to get out. What'd you say? Thanks.
No, I just said what's up to Max Main.
I was just giving a shout out to Max Main because I saw his communication. Thank you, Max. And you keep doing your good stuff as an entrepreneur downtown. He's one of the entrepreneurs I didn't mention who are doing well downtown. And we want to continue to encourage that and to support that. So I appreciate that. That's what I want to say. And I'm glad to have this opportunity to bring in some of the people who are not engaged as much in the world. People are busy trying to live their lives. There's a lot of challenges these days with just living your life and keeping a job and transportation. So those are the things we've got to realize, and they may not have a chance to do as much of a deep down on who the candidates are. But this opportunities like this and forums like you have, I hope that will bring in some of the people who are not engaged as much, to have them realize that how much their lives will be affected on them, who they decide to be the leader for the next 4 years is really going to set the tone for how Pontiac develops for decades. Okay. And it's who's going to be the leadership will determine, for example, whether the people here who have been here, and many people are renters, for example, 60% are renters, whether the expenses are going to be passed on to them in the form of higher rents. Already people are talking about it's hard to afford. I hear some people saying that they have people living in their cars now. So Pontiac can go either way. It can be a city in which people don't get pushed out. They can still afford to live here, or it can go the way in which, as you said, there are other interests which will come and buy up Pontiac. And unless there's general plans and measures put forth to make sure that all Pontiac citizens have the opportunity and have the economic ability to stay here and enjoy the city that they have helped to build. And those can be done in various ways, but there's got to be an administration that thinks that that's an important thing to do and a consideration, and not let it slide by like this administration has. We didn't even get to the point about homelessness and affordable housing, and I do want to just touch upon that because that's very important.
I just thought of that. When you brought it up. So
exactly. Exactly.
Well, let me officially ask what I was going to ask, and then you can get into it.
Okay.
As far as housing goes, what are your plans to ensure affordable housing and prevent homelessness?
Yes. So both very real problems, and affordable housing is something that has always been of interest to me and of importance to me, because I realized that as I was bringing in all the businesses and all the economic development, that people could, not everybody um, could benefit from that in the same way. And so I say that to say that unless there is strategic planning and concern for all strata and economic levels of the citizenry and businesses, then some people were likely to suffer. In other words, one person's economic development could be another person's gentrification. So I was very well and very concerned about that. In fact, um, the Governor Whitmer, appointed me to be one of the council people on a statewide council that was developed to finding problems and solutions for problems that affected Black and Brown communities like ours. So it respected the way that I was concerned about these issues and how we protected and were concerned about all levels of our citizenry in Pontiac. And that included this homeless problem. And the homeless problem is something that we need to be very concerned about, because it's a growing problem and it's going to grow more as the economy changed. One of the things is we don't have enough homeless shelters. And I think I would applaud this council for realizing that that's something they needed to address. And finally, last night, I was at council meeting and they passed a zoning ordinance that will allow New Birth International to open up and be rezoned so they can offer facilities for the homeless, particularly as a warming shelter. So we need to do more of that, and that's the responsibility of the community. But homelessness, you also need to address some of the root causes. Sometimes homelessness is because of mental illness. And so we know that there needs to be concern about addressing the problem of mental illness, otherwise the homelessness will just keep repeating itself. And then there needs to be, as you say, some people are homeless just because of being affordability. And that's where the affordable homes issue comes in. And there's various ways that communities can address homelessness. One of the things, and affordable housing. And one of the ways we did it is that in my administration, we had the biggest building home boom of affordable housing in the last 20 years of Pontiac's history. And I'll name just a few of the places that were built that we developed during my administration. And that was the Hamilton, and then the townhouses along University Drive, as well as other stratas of housing too. We had a lot of housing that was built that was available. We had the biggest building boom in 20 years since the General Motors. And I was proud to say that, and that's something that needs to continue. There's policies that can be put in place to assure that continues. And one of the things that I've done and would continue to do is to be able to develop policies that support developers who would do build affordable housing. And that's one of the reasons I'm a little concerned that this administration has been on a selling boom for the last few years, and they're selling off a lot of this vacant property at minimal prices to developers. $1,000 or $500 for lots. And I'm saying, don't deplete our inventory without any guarantees that some of the housing will be used to support affordable rates for people and for people to become homeowners. And there are some programs that will allow more people who generally hadn't been able to afford homeowning to be supported so that they could get to be homeowners and get equity in their property rather than being renters. if they chose to make that change. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that I did do and I would continue to do. One of the first partnerships I had as mayor was with Flagstar Bank. They brought in a $10 million partnership. And one of the things I asked them to do was to bring back something called the comeback mortgage, because that would help people have little equity to be able to get the down payment to buy a home. So that was one of the things. We also, as I said, built a lot more affordable housing, and I encourage that. And we need to find more ways to give developers incentives to build housing that will be affordable. And then there's some other very creative ways that communities are developing now that are supported by state government. And that's why being on the governor's panel to make recommendations about ways that we can help Black and Brown communities to achieve economic success and close the gap between other communities that are richer than ours. And one of those things is they've had policies that enable such kinds of programs, such as doing a community land bank. We do our own land bank, and we have the possibility of controlling certain properties that are available so that we can distribute a certain number of one of those to developers that are willing to do affordable housing. So those are just few of the ways in which we would support affordable housing. We want all kinds of housing, but we also want to have a community in which families and people want to move into the community. And we have had too much influx of people who, are moving out to Auburn Hills or Waterford or places because they find better amenities. And we have to realize as a community the things we have to do to make ourselves as attractive and as safe and as affordable as some of these other places. And that's what I pledge to do. And that's what will be my agenda as mayor of the city of Pontiac. I'm proud that I can talk from the sense of not only the things that I do, but people know that those are the standards because we have done them. Okay. Mm-hmm. I have a proven track record of proven leadership. And that's why I say, please, on the ballot, and some of you people already have your ballot, your absentee ballots, vote and get those ballots in. And for the young people who haven't been involved, who want to know more about my administration, and who I hope are learning through programs like yours, Spinks, of what was done and what my platform has been, that they will learn more about that and realize that we want them to be engaged. And your vote is your voice. And what your vote can determine a lot of how this city progresses to your benefit and with the opportunities that I've talked about. And you have to have a mayor who's committed to do that. And I pledge to do that. Thank you very much for allowing me to be on your program. My greetings to all of you out there. Early voting starts on June 26th at the library. But anyway, vote your voice August 5th as the ballot. I have been very honored to be respected by the people and voted by the people, and to hold that as a very high honor. And my pledge is to serve the people with the priorities, with the integrity that we've been known for. And I thank you for allowing me to meet and greet your population. And thank you for your service to our community.
No problem. Again, thank you so very much for being a part of this series that I got going on. Good luck in the election. And hopefully, when after this primary, I can get you back on and we can talk about everything moving forward from there. Again, I appreciate you and good luck.
I'd love to. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye now.
So there you have it, y'all. Mayoral-elect Deirdre Waterman. I hope you were able to learn some things. We had quite a few questions in the chat. We knocked some of those out. So I appreciate everybody that was tuned in. Please follow Vadar Vision on all platforms, man. This is not over. I will be coming back after the primary and speaking to whoever we plan on putting in office. Again, this is not the end of Who's for Pontiac. We will ride this wave out until we have the right person moving the city into the right direction. Again, if you are not a voter, please get out and register to vote, man. Hopefully, my platform can help you out as far as choosing your candidate who you think fits best for your needs for where you want to see the city go. If you are a registered voter, please slide by Vadar Vision on Facebook or YouTube, and you can watch the videos of all of the candidates that I had on my show in this series. I would like to say thank you to Deirdre Waterman for being on the show. I would also like to thank Kermit Williams, Gil Garrett, Mark Holland, and Mike McGinnis for sliding through and basically introducing themselves to you guys. That's what this whole platform is for us to get to know who we city to lead this great city forward. We need you. Your votes count, whether you believe they do or not. Your vote does count, and I hope this platform helps you make the right decision. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I'm just here to put everybody that's running in your face so you can see who you want to choose. You know what I mean? Your voice, like you said, your voice matters, man. To those, this is it for the primaries. To those candidates that I wasn't able to get on the show, I tried to give you guys a place to speak your voice and, a platform for you to show the people who you are. I had one schedule, lock it in, then reschedule, and then leave me on ghost, leave me on red. I had one candidate that, and this was the funniest interaction I had with anybody. One candidate decided that in order for him to decide if he wanted to speak to me on this platform, that I had to go and read his dad's book to get to know who his dad was in 1950 in order to come on my show and speak about running for mayor in 2025. I told him, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go and do a report and read up on him. You can come up here and explain whoever your dad was, but he didn't want to do that. He wanted me to go and go to the library, check out a book, read it, call him, and then give him a report before he said yes to come on the show. So we turned that page also. And that final candidate, she doesn't have a Facebook page. I put out multiple posts saying, somebody plugged me in, so nobody must know her. So again, good luck. Yeah, man, that about sums it up. Thank you. This is the 5th episode. I want to thank everybody that came on the show. I hope all of you can get something out of this before the elections. The elections are August 5th. Hope you know where you're supposed to go to vote. Don't show up at the wrong building like I did before they switched the building, after they switched the building. But make sure you get out and vote. Again, Pontiac, I love y'all, man. If you ain't voting and you ain't in this to push this city forward, man, what you doing? I don't know. What you doing? Shout out to everybody that was in the chat. Like I said, man, follow Vadar Vision on all platforms. That's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, which is formerly Twitter. And if you like the job that I'm doing and you want to support $ Vadar Vision on Cash App, just thought I'd throw that out there. Man, thank y'all, man. I love y'all. Y'all have a good one, man.
Mom, Chills is literally making beats again.
Mom told you about this side.
And what she say?
It could get ugly.
Yeah.
Boy from the
East side, east side, east side, east side. Yeah.
Mom told you about this side.
And what she say?
It could get ugly.
Yeah.
I'm just a boy from the
East side, east side, east side. 1980-819 Pontiac General. Day of the birth of a small city general. To keep it brief, till I was 6 or 7, moved around. Never left District 7 on Wall Street, that stopped. Now that's a block. Stayed at the bottom, but it was pumped at the top. I stopped playing kill 'em with the Stewarts and Tates. Started rolling with them niggas that was moving away. Thought I'd take the long way, walking the Millers. Say what's up to the